I remember a point where I kind of felt like, am I turning off my empathic gift because I'm no longer feeding into, like, am I hardening myself? Am I turning off my nurturing gifts and abilities because I'm so conditioned to not absorb this, not dive into that, choosing not to go head to head with that, setting a boundary or cutting cords with that? Like, that was a real fear of mine. And then I quickly realized and discovered that's how I'm enabling myself to be more empathetic and nurturing and giving in the right circumstances, not only with the outside world, but with myself.
Welcome back to Empath Spiritual Awakening. Today we're in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, with Judi Jamieson. I found you over 8 months ago, and I think I was just going down a rabbit hole on YouTube. And when I came across your videos, there was so much content that I was like, this feels like it was made specifically for me.
Awesome.
With so much of what you said. And then last night I was rewatching and listening to so many more of your videos and still like feel the same way. There's just so many little things. Something that really stuck out to me, and this happened recently, where I was starting to feel a lot of emotion in a conversation that I was having. And then I kind of started to shut down, and I just wanted to like hide away, like go into my room or like crawl up into a ball. And this was something that you were mentioning, that a lot of empaths tend to do this.
You want me to elaborate on
Yes,
that a
please.
little bit?
Yeah. Have you found that you've experienced that yourself?
In the past, yeah. I think when you're, like, the reason I do what I do for a living is I like to help specifically empaths learn how to manage their gifts versus that gift and what they're absorbing from the outside world, managing them and dictating their life and their happiness, and absorbing all kinds of stuff from the outside world. And then you kind of get confused. Wait a minute, my energy, my thoughts, my feelings, or am I picking up from somewhere else? And how to like really hone in on that and separate what's you versus what's outside. And then when you're able to understand that and manage how you work, it just makes life so much more easier and peaceful.
How do we start to determine what's ours versus someone else's?
Well, I could tell you from my personal experience, what I've learned is that if you go on a very deep spiritual awakening journey, that is not like spiritual awakening, like I want to learn how to read tarot cards and I want to learn mediumship, but a personal journey where you get to discover who you are on a very deep, intimate soul level, right? Like, who am I? Why am I here? What are my gifts? What's my path and purpose? When you're able to discover that as a standalone individual versus what the outside world tells you, who you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to act, like you're conditioned or programmed to be a certain way. And I think once you're able to separate that and detach from all of the programming, for lack of a better word, then you really get to know, oh, okay, this is me versus I'm absorbing and taking on someone or something else's energy. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Okay.
it does. And I think for me, that part of that journey is solitude, spending a lot of time with myself to distinguish like what is my energy and feeling into that, so that when I do go out and interact with people, I start to notice, oh, like I'm starting to feel this thing only because I'm with this person. Do you think that there's like a point in time where in the beginning of our journeys we spend a lot of time alone, but then do we ever kind of start to get so comfortable with who we are and knowing who we are that we are able to spend, or maybe I'm able to spend more time with other people?
Well, I think there's a difference between spending time with yourself versus spending time with yourself. And I'm a huge advocate on shadow work. I mean, shadow work will really help you not only heal any emotional trauma, baggage, triggers, programming. shadow work is a phenomenal tool to help eradicate any and all pre-programming and really diving within yourself and learning, is this me, or am I mirroring and mimicking my mom or my dad or some other outside influence that you took on as part of you, again, that conditioning or programming. But when you specifically do shadow work, like I said, it really helps clear out any and everything. And now you have like a clean slate to really tune into, I'll point, your soul, right? Or whatever that is that you believe in up there. To really tune into that and channel in and embody you. Like I'll say your intuition, right? Your higher self up there. Once you do that shadow work and clear out all that stuff, now you're like a clear conduit and channel to really plug in and connect with your higher self or your intuition. And then discover, yeah, I really don't like doing this kind of stuff, but I got that from somebody else who introduced me to it. But this is what really lights me up. And this is, you know, the path I'd like to go. And it just kind of snowballs from there.
So I feel like I've recently been meditating a lot. So I'm like a lot more conscious in like my waking daily life. And I've become very aware of how much I'm like, I'm not good enough. Like, I don't like this, or like overly critical of myself. But maybe I haven't gone deep enough because I've just become aware of those thoughts. And I like, it feels like they keep repeating and coming. And like, I'm like, what do I do with this now? Like, I'm very aware of how I'm feeling about myself and everything, but how do I even change it?
You would go to the root of, so anytime you're feeling negative, low vibrational stuff, that lets you know you're in ego. Ego is that survival, worldly part of you, right? So the second you find yourself criticizing yourself, shitting on yourself, you know, repeating, like if your parents grew up calling you a moron, right? And you tell yourself, oh, I'm a moron, whether you're consciously aware of, I'm repeating them. But the second you start feeling those negative, low vibrational emotions, you want to go to the root, right? And the root of that, and really eradicating it, is walking yourself through a process of understanding, okay, when was the first time I felt this emotion? Because you weren't born with it. You absorbed it from somebody somewhere in life, right? Understanding, if I can recall, even if you have to do like, okay, most recently, the last time I felt this emotion was here in this situation with that person. And you can kind of go back in time. You want to go to the root, or what's like the seed, when that was originally implanted there. Who did you pick it up from, right? What age were you? What is the specific emotion you're feeling? Because when you're able to identify the emotion, you're not feeling it. It now has a name. It's its own separate identity. So you're able to look at it as its own thing, right? And then you just kind of walk through to enhance it a little bit. You do a body scan, because all of your stuff, it hides and manifests somewhere in your body, right? Some people get like really bad shoulder pain or back pain, right? Your body talks to you. But a lot of people don't tune into their body until it's screaming, right? So when you figure out where it's hiding, there's this process that I use in my personal life and that I teach on how to really eradicate and get all of that out of your system to permanently heal it. Because a lot of people stick with, okay, you're feeling a certain emotion, what triggered it? And it's usually like an outside superficial something going on.
Yes.
And a lot of people do what's called cord cutting.
Okay.
But it's only at the superficial level. They never go to where that original seed planted and it grew. And now it kind of grew into, this is currently what's triggering it and what's going on. And anytime anything like that comes up, I've noticed that, and me in my own life, in the past, we kind of like, as an empath, we pull away from it and kind of don't face it, right? Or don't take it head on, right?
Yeah.
But the second you have the courage to do that, you're able to totally remove it out of your system, which then the byproduct of that is not only does your light, your energy, everything about you just shine brighter, you start to embody your true self.
So as I was writing this question, I was thinking about like the different ways of why we feel an emotion, and I was thinking about how it could be a perception, our perception of the interaction creates the emotion of something we believe, or is it something we felt from the other person, or is there also a possibility we just walk into a space and there's like a lingering energy? Are there any other ways that we could pick up on some type of energy or feeling?
Well, I think the greatest gift of being an empath is that you're able to feel things, right, at a higher frequency, right, than, I don't want to say most people or the average person, right? Yeah. But the second you're feeling something, whether it's good or bad, there's a message in there for you, right? So, like, because I teach intuition and psychic development, specifically to empaths, right? The second you're feeling that emotion or whatever it is that you're picking up on, I think there's a couple different things you kind of want to evaluate. Okay, what was your energy, right? Your energy is just your emotions. That's it. A lot of people don't understand that. They think energy is some Hollywood. Your energy is your emotions, right? That's how you gauge what's my energy, what's my frequency. Are you happy or are you low, right? So the second you walk into a space, right, notice immediately if your energy or your emotions shift. Okay, that right there will tell you something is going on here, right? So then you just kind of evaluate, okay, wait, what was I feeling before I walked into this space? Because that will let you know how to separate what's you versus what is another energy or surrounding, right? So if you, I don't know, say you were out somewhere and you're in your car and you're rocking out to your tunes, right? You're happy, you're jamming, and you walk into a space and all of a sudden something is different. Well, that lets you know it's not you. You're picking up something else, okay? Go back to your question here, because it was kind of split into two or three.
Three, yeah. So there's my perception of the interaction, something I believe, about, maybe about myself or about the person, creates an emotion within me.
Right. So if your belief system is just how you perceive and see the world based on a lot of different factors, how you were raised, what you're into, right? So everybody filters everything through their own belief system. But again, it's just a matter of, okay, say you go somewhere and immediately you're getting triggered or a negative emotion. You just kind of take a step back and evaluate, what is it that I'm thinking or telling myself or believing about this situation? Because a lot of times, as an empath, if we go somewhere and we pick up something negative, sometimes it's not always negative. It's a trigger that is unhealed within ourselves, right? Or a belief system. Or again, anything negative is ego. That'll let you know you're disconnected from your higher self, right? So like, say, to give you an example, if you go out somewhere and you meet somebody and they say something that triggers you, right? Doesn't feel good, or immediately you're like, this person's an asshole, or they're a narcissist, right? You kind of have to go and evaluate, ask yourself, ask your intuition, where is this coming from? Is my ego trying to protect me by telling me, based on my belief system, right, or the way I view world, this person's bad? Or is this person, really nothing's wrong with them? Or not that anything's wrong, but you know what I mean? Something about their energy is triggering something in me, negative. That'll let you know this is an opportunity to do shadow work and heal, and maybe that belief system, is it really your intuition or your higher self? Or again, is it programming, conditioning, right? So the second anything negative comes up for me, I immediately tune into, okay, what am I feeling? Is this me my ego negative, trying to protect me and keep me safe in my bubble? Or is it I'm picking up somebody else's energy, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then does that also go into when you're like just straight up feeling what someone else is feeling?
So again, like there's a process to understanding. Again, it involves all that shadow work. Like, I think there was a point in my life where I was doing shadow work, what felt like 25 times a day. Like going through this clearing and reprogramming and conditioning, right? Just evaluating, okay, is this mine? Is this part of my belief? Where does it come from? And when you get in a repetition of having that be part of your normal daily practice, you're going to discover a lot about you, and you're going to heal a lot of things. And you're going to find the byproduct of that as you're going about your normal everyday life, regardless of where you're at or who you're around. A lot of the outside world will no longer affect you and trigger you, because you have done so much clearing and getting to the root of things and healing and releasing things that you don't have to live in hibernation mode no more. Like a lot of empaths they don't want to go out because they can't handle all of the different stuff. And like, it's just my personal viewpoint, but that's robbing you of so many new experiences.
I feel like I'm kind of there. Like I know a lot of people and I interact with a lot of people, but like when I started this podcast and this YouTube channel, I've really spent a lot of time alone because I'm like, I have this project, I need to focus on it. I don't want to get distracted or like influenced by other people. And I'm even like, I haven't wanted to date anyone because when I date people, that just creates so much energy and like mental, like does he like me? Does he not like me? Do I like just all of this stuff that feels like it like takes my energy away from me.
It also pulls you away a little bit from your goals and your focus.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying.
And so like I know that like I'm in this place, but like I feel like I'm ready to go out into the world. So I'm like, what do I need to do to get there? To like be more comfortable, to be able to interact with people and not just take everything personally. That's something you said in one of your videos too, that I'm like, geez. But like I also am proud of myself. I feel like I've come a far way of like even just this trip back home of interacting with people and not like absorbing everything they say and how they perceive me. And so it's like it's just this continual journey of, I think, especially not taking anything personally.
Well, the other trick to not taking things personally, right? If you're aware, there's the spiritual you, right? And then there's the ego you, right? Everybody has an ego. Everybody, right? So you go out into the outside world and someone is having it, like I said, everybody filters things through their own perception. So even when you're interacting with people, and you don't have to be psychic to do this, right? You understand everybody filters things through their own perception, and then they're going to voice it based on their belief system or perception. You're able to identify a little bit about that person, and if they are in connection with their higher self, or if they're plugged into their ego. And whatever is going on with them has nothing to do with you. Nothing. It just has to do with the way they perceive things, right? So to give you an example, if somebody, I don't know, you're out and about somewhere and somebody calls you a bitch, right? Well, based on your perception, if you haven't healed that, you're going to get offended by that. And then again, go through where did I feel this? Where did I pick it up from? What age? What's the core root? So you can eradicate it, right? If you've done enough of that shadow work and clearing things out, you can be like, okay, that's just your opinion. That's how you're choosing to see me. And it really has nothing to do with me. It's how you see the world and perceive things. And then you don't take it personally. Whatever, that's that person's baloney or bullshit that they need to deal with. Has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Right? So then you don't take it and absorb it and be like, oh my God, is it right? Why is, And then the other thing too with being an empath is people pleasing.
Yeah.
Like, it's so easy for us to sacrifice our own happiness for other people, right? So then when you kind of, again, get in the routine of going in and clearing that stuff out, you realize, you know what? That person, that's where they're at in their phase of life, whether they're on a spiritual journey or not. It's not my job, because we like to help people and save people, even when someone's not asking for it, right? It's not that person, when they're ready, maybe they'll go through an awakening, or maybe they'll dive deeper, or, so it's just an easy way, again, not to absorb and take on or interfere where somebody is at in their timeline of their path and purpose or awakening. Like, that was really hard for me for a while when I first started doing this stuff years ago. Like, I just wanted to, that person, they're in ego. That's the way they're perceiving things. Yeah. They got some shit they didn't deal with, right? I'm going to help them. No. Unless they ask for it or ask questions or show, that they want to go deeper, I don't touch it. Yeah. That's just them and where they're at, and I'm not going to interfere or fuck with their journey. I'm not, because it's not my job to do that, right?
Yeah, I remember on the beginning of my journey, I started to feel all of these really high vibrational emotions, like excited and joy and grateful and happy and fulfilled. And I remember that was kind of like the first time I was really sustainably feeling that. And I just wanted everyone else to experience the same thing. So like, I was sharing my journey and like being like, you should do this and this and this. And I realized that people would reject it. Yeah, and they didn't want to hear about it. Yeah. And so now on my journey, I'm just thinking about me, like, how can I be my best self? How can I show up in the best way possible? And just let everyone else live the lives that they chose and choose to live.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of the way I run my life and my business. Mm-hmm. If you just stay in the routine of just being you, just fully wholeheartedly be yourself and stay in your own lane and your own path, your energy and wattage is going to shine brighter. And the right people who get that are going to see it. Mm-hmm. And they're going to, through like the law of attraction, just kind of, come to you and connect with you, versus the people who don't see that, they're going to push back or go away. Yeah. And that's depending on what the situation is, if it's a relationship, friendship, love, work, whatever. I think as an empath, one of the things that you got to get really good at is getting comfortable with attracting and flat out repelling. Because that's a nice, clear indicator. Okay, this, person isn't into what I'm into, or they don't see me for, you on a very soulful level, and that's cool. They're not part of where I'm going. We're not on the same journey, and then you just, like I said, you're able to, okay, this person, they're on their own road. It's not the same path, depending on what that relationship is. A connection is made where two high vibrational people are going and, propelling each other forward, or, okay, no, that person they're on a different path, right? And I'm not going to lower myself or dim my light and change my energy to conform to make somebody else happy. Make somebody else happy, right?
And it just doesn't work, ultimately.
No, you drain your energy. Yeah. You see your tank go from full to empty. But yeah, that doesn't benefit you, and that doesn't benefit the other person. No.
Yeah. And even when I'm in like higher states of awareness, I see so much beauty even in like the lower vibrational experiences and like the trauma, and just how everyone has free will to live how they want to live. And I see so much beauty in that. Yeah. And then another thing too is, like yesterday I was driving in the car and I'm just like, I get it. Like, I understand why people do what they do. Like, literally everyone in this world. I understand, like, when you grow up in like a situation and you see the world in a certain place. But I also think that understanding can be, I don't think it will be anymore, a little detrimental to me, because sometimes I like allow people to be in my life just because I understand them. But it's like, just because I understand a person doesn't mean I want to let them around. I feel like I just talked in a circle by saying that. Mm-hmm. But like, even if someone is narcissistic or someone is greedy or mean, or they just say things that don't empower me, like that doesn't mean I'm like, okay, that's fine. I will continue to give you my energy. Mm-hmm.
Well, you could be around someone and not give them your energy, right? So you give you an example. There's like certain relationships, family members, coworkers, right? There's certain people in my personal life that I would not be friends with them or hang out with them, right? If they weren't attached to somebody else. Like say I have a really good friend who's dating someone that I have. Girlfriend, I love you, but this is not the guy for you, right? That's not going to help you know, that relationship. So you're just kind of respectful, you know, towards that person, right? I'll give you a more personal example. There's someone in my personal life who, when we first met, he said to me, so he asked me what I do for a living, which is a basic life question. And I'm always very careful as to, I teach intuition and psychic development, because some people, you know, their ears are going to perk up and they're going to be like, tell me more, or they're going to be like, dude, what's wrong with you? Like, but when he asked more specifically, and I told him, he's like, oh, so you basically pump a bunch of bullshit up people's asses and take their money.
Oh gosh.
Okay. That, at first I was like, okay, Judy, remember, that's his perception. Okay. It doesn't affect you at all. And you kind of get really good and professional at responding versus reacting. Because again, if you're reacting, you're in ego, and then you wind up putting your foot in your mouth. And so whenever I'm around this person for events or holidays, right, I know when I walk in, okay, I'm not going to let this person, I'm not going to absorb their stuff. Again, because if you're in the routine of doing the shadow work and clearing out whatever triggers you, this person can say whatever the hell he wants to me. And it's not going to trigger or affect me in any way at all. So you're able to, depending on what those relationships are, be around people for certain, you know, time frames or whatever. And it just doesn't affect you at all.
How did you respond to that?
I was like, well, yeah, that's what I do. I mirrored him.
Even when he, okay.
Yeah, I lie to people and pump a bunch of baloney up their butt and take their money. Whatever. I didn't care. I did not care at all.
Yeah.
I was like, but whatever. And he doesn't believe in God or life after death or any of that. So again, it's not my job, nor do I have any desire to change somebody's belief system. Because remember, the seed, this man's like 50 some years old. That's ingrained in him. Who am I to jump in there and try and squirrel it and scramble it all around and change it? Like it would be fighting a losing battle. I'm not going to give my energy to that. It's not worth it. He's not asking for it. I have nothing to prove to him. He could think whatever he wants, right? So you kind of see how, I'm telling you, shadow work, it's a game changer. It is a total game changer. Because like I said, when you get in the routine of doing it, you could go to any event, any place, and you are always plugged in with you, and you're vibing with you. And the outside world doesn't affect you. It really doesn't. So you're able to, again, experience more peace, passion, purpose, you know, and just fully shine your wattage, you know, all the time.
Yeah. I love that story. Thank you for sharing it.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm trying to work on responding versus reacting, because like when I feel an emotion so heavily that sometimes it's hard for me to keep interacting with a person. So I'm like like, how would I, like, when you said that story, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how I would respond to that. Like, I think I would immediately get defensive.
Yeah, that's a normal
Or I'd just be
responsive.
like, I'm not talking to you ever again. Like, get out of my face. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. But I
Well, that's cool.
appreciate, yeah.
You could do that. You could just
Yeah,
set that
right?
boundary.
Just
But
like,
again, if it's someone who one of your parents is dating, or a best friend is with, or a family member, how do we keep the peace? And I'm not going to absorb your shit.
Yes.
And I'm not going to fight back. I'm not going to lower myself to be on your negative, low vibe, non-openness, closed-minded baloney. Right? So I just agree with them. Or sometimes you just play stupid. Yeah, you're right. Whatever. You don't do my paycheck. I don't go to bed with you at night. Like, I really don't care. And it's not like I don't give a shit. I do give a shit. But it's choosing who, because the second you create that etheric cord with somebody, how much of your energy are you going to allow them to have, and how much of their energy are you going to take on? And then immediately identifying,
that is
this my ego talking to me? Right? Again, anything negative, low vibrational is always ego. You're able to, okay, I'm immediately in ego mode. Okay, what is the emotion? Where did I pick it up? Like, again, go through that, clearing it out.
So I want to talk about etheric cords.
Okay.
Did I say that right?
Etheric.
Is this when we start to attach etheric cords to a lot of people, is this when our life kind of becomes complicated and we're just...
It can be, yeah.
And is that when we emotionally connect to a person, no matter what kind of emotion it is?
Etheric cords are created through, it could be a physical connection, like you and I have a etheric cord and a nice flow going between us, right? It could be thinking about somebody.
Okay.
Even if you're thinking about someone, energetically, you already created a cord, right? So it's not always in person. Sometimes it's just a thought. If we're reminiscing or going down memory lane, right? Say you recently went through a bad breakup and you haven't seen or spoken to this person in months, but they're still taking up space and in here and in here.
Yeah.
You have not released cords. You're still attached, right? And again, that's ego. You haven't healed it and let it go. But yeah, just cords are created through social interactions, physical interactions, and even thoughts, right? And like I said, a great way to truly cut those cords. It, like, every night when I go to bed, I cut all cords, even to people I love. You know, my kids, the boyfriend, everybody. Because even when you're you're going throughout your day, there's a bazillion different things that you're doing and people you're interacting with and people you're thinking about. Right? There's a lot that goes on in there. Every night when I go to bed, I kind of do like a self-evaluation checklist, right? And then I just release everything to everyone, as much as I love my children. No, it's not like I'm saying F you. You know, I'm cutting the cords with you. That's not, it's okay. Everything I absorbed, everything I thought about, everything I took on, all the adulting, the to-dos, just cut it all and release it again so you're a clear channel, plugged into your intuition and your wattage. Because you know, throughout the day, if you can think of yourself as like a light bulb, you know, sometimes we're on like dimmer switches, right? And you'll notice as your emotions shift and change, but yeah, you just kind of clear it all out, cut all the cords, you know, and you could do that by evaluating if you had a negative experience. Okay, what did I learn from this? What is this experience trying to teach me? There's a message in there. How can I use this negative experience to enhance myself and my life going forward? Right? Or are you going to you're going to chew on it and let it chew on you, right? And eat you up. And then even like the really good stuff, cutting cords to good stuff. I always do gratitude. Thank you so much for blessing me with these children. Thank you so much for blessing me with this. Thank you so much for, you know, bringing this person into my life, you know, so I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Yeah. I have an experience that I want to share of, it happened it happened about a year ago. And it was like this interaction of, I was going to go spend time with someone. And then I decided that I just didn't want to. And I was like, no, like I'm going to cancel, whatever. And so they responded. But about 20 minutes before I read the text, I felt so drained and exhausted. And I remember being really conscious of like, what just happened? Like, why? I was just doing, like I was working and I'm doing really well. And now I'm just tired.
You mean you sent the text and then you felt tired and then the person responded? Was that the timeline of?
Well,
I just want to make sure I'm understanding it right.
Okay. I sent the text. I felt tired. And when I noticed that I was tired, when I looked at the text, when I read it, she sent it like 20 minutes ago. Like, so when I started feeling tired is the time she sent the text. So I think that's when like maybe there was an etheric cord created, and she was really mad at me that I didn't want to spend time with her at that moment. And so it was like one of these questions like that made me kind of wake up a little bit more of like this unconscious energetic tie to this person when they have negative thoughts about, because she was upset. And so I felt like I was drained because of what she was thinking of me about. I'm still so fascinated by these unconscious things that happen to us when the way that I grew up is that we're in this physical world, and like of course like someone can affect me by talking directly to me, but not like thinking about me. And so I just wanted to talk about the value of...
So did you feel bad? Was there some guilt there? Were you afraid of what she was going to think or how it was going to affect her? Did you feel guilty? Right? So that's, again, your ego stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The guilt, people pleasing. How is this going to, so kind of go through and evaluate that. But again, her reaction... that has nothing to do with you. That's how she perceives things and where she's at. Like, I don't get upset anymore. If I am just always myself and I say something, right? It's not, an intent to, as an empath, unless somebody really did you dirty, right? It's not normal for us to have an intent to intentionally hurt somebody. We don't come from that. We always pretty much come from a place of love and light and helping, right?
Yeah.
But if somebody perceives that as a bad,
oh my gosh, yeah.
Or they don't respect your boundaries, or okay, no big deal, whatever, she's got something going on today. Again, that'll let you know what's triggering them, what's unhealed in them. There's like a little bit of emotional intelligence, understanding how emotional intelligence works involved in that. But her response is going to let you know how she perceives things and where she's at on her journey. Right? Like if you and I were scheduled to hang out, unless there was like, did you guys have some kind of big something planned, like a girls' night, or you changed your mind? I don't know. I don't know what the situation was, but if you're not coming from a place of F you, I don't want to hang out with you.
Yeah.
Versus, something came up, or I don't know the context of it. But again, her reaction is how she's choosing to process it.
I don't want to say that I feel this way because I want to change it, but like if anyone thinks that I'm a bad person, like that's like the worst thing ever. Like I feel like that's like a big trigger. Like I wonder why that scares me so much.
Go through and evaluate.
Yeah,
it was imprinted at some point in your past, right? And if you're doing it right, if you peel away enough layers, you're going to go somewhere back to your childhood. Someone made you feel not important or not good enough. If you evaluate who that person was, what the age was, that's the root. Go through, heal it, and release it. So as you're going about your life, the next time that situation would come up, you're not going to feel that way no more. Because you already did the big girl stuff and went to the root and cleared that out. It kind of sometimes, I'll say, when you get in a routine of doing it, right, and like really mastering it, like I have notifications on my phone every hour on the hour. I go, because I have a life and I got responsibilities and things, deadlines and things to do. So I get sidetracked easy. But I have reminders on my phone every hour on the hour. My phone will ding. And that little ding tells me, Judi, just take 30 seconds, 5 minutes, whatever time you have right now, and just evaluate any negative baloney you would have absorbed, whether it's your own internal bullshit, your ego, right? I'm not good enough. I'm not going to succeed. This is going to be stupid. Or if it's somebody else's stuff. Every hour on the hour, I go through and clear out all my stuff. Just kind of evaluate where it's a constant clearing process. And like I said, when you get in the routine of doing it, you find that everything about your life just fits and flows and things work out and the right people come to you and the people who aren't supposed to be in there kind of shoo away. And even the negative things that happen, because we're getting close to the holidays, right? So there's going to be instances where we're all fighting for a parking spot like sharks, right? You're sitting there with your blinker on, waiting for this spot, and some person pulls right in there, right? Yeah, that's going to piss you off and trigger you. But it's an opportunity to evaluate, okay, you don't know what's going on with this person. How important is having that spot, right? There's so many different variables, but I guess the end result of what I'm saying is always go through and clear out your stuff, clear out your stuff, clear out your stuff.
Thank you.
Oh, the point of why I was saying that. I remember a point where I kind of felt like, am I turning off my empathic gift because I'm no longer feeding into, like, am I hardening myself? Am I turning off my nurturing gifts and abilities because I'm so conditioned to not absorb this, not dive into that, choosing not to go head to head with that, setting a boundary or cutting cords with that? Like, that was a real fear of mine. And then I quickly realized and discovered that's how I'm enabling myself to be more empathetic and nurturing and giving in the right circumstances, not only with the outside world, but with myself. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, yeah. I feel like I've kind of been experiencing that recently of like, it feels like I'm hardening myself and not feeling into every single thing that's going on around me.
You're not feeding into it. That's the difference.
Yeah. And it's not affecting me. Like, when I go to sleep at night, I'm just like, I'm good. Like, this is me. I love me. That's something I've been saying to myself a lot recently. Instead of like thinking about what other people think of me, I look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, I love me. Like, that's what really matters, not what other people are thinking and saying. But that's interesting. I'll keep observing that. Just not feeding into like their reality or their perception or their limiting beliefs.
Yeah. I said, as empaths, we're always love and light, nurture, help. But you don't have to, you get to choose who you're going to give it to, who, you want to create that cord with. But yeah, it was crazy as it sounds. That was like a real legitimate fear of mine. Am I turning into, like, am I shutting myself down? No, I'm allowing myself to grow brighter and stronger in my essence of who I am versus allowing the outside world to dictate and control and manage me and my life and my light. That's the big thing. Not allowing the outside world to dictate and dull or squash your light.
Yes. Yeah, because it's like victimhood and powerlessness. Like, when I allow other people and situations to influence how I feel and how I think. And I mean, not just how I feel, but like taking it on and like creating a bad day or creating a bad week or anything.
Yeah. I think the beautiful thing too with being an empath is if you've done the healing work, you're not closed-minded. right? There's a difference between a boundary and being closed-minded. We're by nature not closed-minded people. Like, we see all different aspects in the rainbow, right? Where some people are just so, no, this is what it is and that's there. Like, okay, how are you going to, like, I know when I look at that, I'm like, you're cutting yourself off. How are you allowing yourself as a person to grow and evolve and reach new levels and new things if you're so, like, when someone says something to me or gives me an idea or something, I don't, like, I'll look at it and see the whole rainbow of it. You know, what is this? What's going on? Maybe this is a good idea. Maybe this is an opportunity for a new way of expanding myself and learning or thinking. But yeah, you ultimately get to pick and choose where you want to go, what levels, what depth, who you want to create chords with, who you don't. Being an empath is a wonderful, amazing, beautiful thing. You know, empaths are light workers, they're healers, right? But when you haven't mastered your gift of empathy, a lot of times you feel like a victim. Like, why is this happening to me? Why this negative? I'm absorbing this. I'm taking this hit. I'm taking that, right? You haven't mastered your gift of empathy. You're allowing the outside world. Just because you can pick up things and feel things, right? That's a gift. That's a really good gift. That is a life-saving tool if you know how to manage it versus it managing you. Make sense?
Yes. Yeah. That was powerful, the way that you just put that.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many people come to me and tell me they're tired of absorbing negative people's energy and they don't go out anywhere, or, you know, it's just robbing them of happiness. And like, I can tell you how many times people have called me a bitch or cold, right? It's just because I'm being honest and I'm telling them something that their ego can't handle. So if I'm working, and I'm very selective as to who I work with, which always cracks me up whenever I think about the person. And yeah, I'm just a bullshitter. I take people. There's times I turn people away. Like, this person is not ready. They're not going to succeed.
How do you know when they're not ready?
I just feel into it and I listen to them. Okay. If they are so low energetically, I'll say victim status. It's really just ego. The ego has consumed them to where no matter what I say to them, they're not going to hear it. They are in such that low vibrational mode that they want me to lie to them and tell them what they want to hear.
Oh.
That's not what I do. You can go find somebody else who will do that. That's not me. That goes against my values and my morals. I won't do it, right? But if someone comes to me and they're so, life sucks, everything's going wrong, this person's doing this person's doing that, I'm broke, I'm this, and they're rattling off all of these things, and not one thing out of their mouth is, how can I fix it? How can I make it better? They just want someone to dump their shit on or tell them what they want to hear. And then I'm just like, I'm sorry, I'm not the person for you. You know, like, I know they just want someone who's going to feed into their victim status and tell them, yeah, validate. You're right, this person's an asshole, they're this, they're that, or this.
Yeah.
I go the way my personality, if I'm going into something, I'm going into it with everything I got with an open mind. And if the other person isn't receptive or open that way, I don't work with them. Again, it just always makes me laugh. You lie to people? You tell people what they want to hear? You just pump a bunch of baloney up their butt and take their money? Yeah, sure. Whatever, if that's your belief, whatever. But he has no idea how many people I turn away, right? So, but whatever. But yeah, if someone's open and they're like, show me what to do. Teach me how to use my gift to my advantage. Teach me how to use my gift to make my life better versus low, 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 low. agree with me and tell me this person's horrible or this is, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I feel like I've always been like, how do I... So my mom died when I was 12, and I grew up in a very chaotic household, and I was really depressed. And I just reached this point of like, I will literally do anything to not feel like this anymore. Like, what do I need to do? And in the beginning of the journey, it was me talking to someone and just crying a lot. And them like holding that space of hope and faith that like my life doesn't have to be how it felt like that forever. And so I think that I have really had a very curious mind and just wanting to learn and discover ways to see the world differently. So that's pretty interesting. And there's definitely people, like I can just immediately think of people who just want to be validated in their like fucked up stories about how other people are fucking them over all the time, or like this person's a dick. And like, I know that they want me to just go along with it and confirm it, but that's been a struggle too of like, how do I deal with these people who want me to validate their situations, but like I also don't want to be sucked into that.
Yeah. I know. I think you can validate it. Like it's even as an empath, right? Like I said, we all have an ego. There's moments in your life where you're like, oh, this happened, and let me call my best friend, and let me just, and that's fine. If she's a great best friend, but to me, a really good friend is like someone who's like, okay, let's let all your shit out. Okay, you released it, you cried it out, you bitched it out, you yelled it out, you punched it out, however you needed to get it out. Okay, now are we ready to get my girlfriend back? Did you release it? Like, to me, that's a good friend, who will not continue to feed into it, but okay, if this is what you need in the moment to release it, okay, let's go through it and release it. I'll give you a hug, I'll give you a pep talk, and then I'm going to kick your ass and get you back on who you are, and I'm going to kick you back up to your high wattage. I'm not going to let you stay down here.
Yeah.
Right? So if in the first stage is validating that person, because that's one thing empaths don't like, is being invalidated. Like when someone gaslights you, but all right, we'll validate your feelings. Yes, you're normal. You're a human. That person was an asshole. You have every right to feel that way. Okay, what can we learn from this now? How can we use this to make it better? Now, how do we plug into you and crank up your wattage again and bring you back to full power? Because I love you and I ain't going to let you stay down here. Right? You want to go with me? And if it's, a good person, someone you connect with, they're going to be like, yeah, let's do this. Let's crank up that wattage again and let all that go, because I don't want to stay there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's so powerful. Thank you. Because I totally was just going the direction of like not wanting to validate, but validation is so important. And I feel like we all experience the dense emotions. It's just, what do we do with it at the end of the day? Like, how do we transmute and alchemize it?
I always plug into what is this trying to teach me? This is happening for me. It's not happening to me, because if you're so conditioned to think it's happening to you, you're in victim mode, low vibrational victim mode. No matter any shitty thing that goes on out in the world, I look at it like, this is happening for me. There is some kind of bigger hidden message, key component, blessing. There's something in here that's going to add value to my life. And that is what I focus on, and that is what I look for, instead of creating that etheric cord with the negativity and continuing on repeat, autopilot, playing into it and making the whole thing even freaking bigger. It's okay. Wow. I'm going to cut that feed, that negative feed, and I'm going to plug into, how is this going to help me? What can I use this for? What is the lesson in here? And then I start looking for the blessings and the lessons, instead of feeding into continuing to validate my ego. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's so interesting when you just said etheric cord towards the negative.
Oh, you can create your own etheric cord with your own ego.
To like any, that's so fascinating. And it's kind of, to visualize it, is it just like this energy going back and forth?
Yeah. If you can think of like the little devil and the little angel on your shoulder, right? You've all seen images of that. The angel, you want to look at that like your intuition. That's your higher self, the future you, right? The next level version of you, right? Because we're always growing and learning. The little devil, that could be your own ego. It could be somebody else's baloney that you absorbed, right? So if you're consciously aware of, okay, this is the positive. The second a negative thing happens, like I said, I go through and I evaluate. Is this me and my shit? Or is it something I absorbed? And then I just kind of always, like it's not like I'm not, a lot of times, a lot of people will go through life and they don't want to face things, right? But the second you're like, okay, I'm acknowledging this is a negative thing. What is going on? You kind of evaluate what the situation is. You're looking at it and acknowledging it. It's hanging out there for a reason. So when you acknowledge it, you quote unquote befriend it. And when you befriend it, you now know what is keeping it there. So now you have the power. You know what's keeping it there. It wants whatever, right? That's where the shadow work comes in. You now just got a magic freaking key to release it and let it go. And then tune into, okay, this is the path.
Yeah.
Instead of like being in denial and like lying to ourselves, right? I always look at it. Look at it and identify it. What is it? Where is it coming from? Is it me? Is it someone else? There's something magical in here. Like you don't stay there long. But the second you're, like a lot of people think you're like, you got to stay here and swim in your cesspool of whatever. You don't. The second that negative thing is going on, go through and evaluate some of those things. And when you find, oh, this is teaching me how to speak my truth. Or maybe this is teaching me how to set a boundary. Maybe this is teaching me I just doled myself down to appease somebody else. Maybe this is teaching me to light myself even brighter. Now you got the key. This ain't going to bother you no more and take up space over here. So now you're able to go here. And that's how you transform it and shift it, right?
Yeah, that's so powerful. Thank you.
Yeah.
The last question, or one of the last questions. If you can send one message to every person in this world, what would that message be?
You are loved. You're loved. That's it. Because I know a lot of people don't feel that way.
Yeah.
They're looking for outside validation.
Yes.
You know I did for a long time when I was younger. My father died when I was 12.
Oh.
So you and I have that in common. You was your mom. For me, it was my dad. So I kind of grew up not really having a father figure or a male role model. I did for a while, but that person wound up, that's a whole nother story. So I never knew what it was really like to be loved by a male. My idea of love was how I grew up with my mom, which was emotionally unavailable. You know, disconnect. You know, it was a totally different thing. So a lot of my younger years, I went through life falling in love with assholes and narcissists and being taken advantage of. And when you get to that healing part, like I realized it's not their fault. It's my fault. Because I allowed it, or I didn't open my mouth, or I didn't set a boundary, or because I had no idea who I was. I was whatever somebody else wanted me to be. That's the role I took on, right? And when you go through enough of that process of healing and understanding, I guess life is so freaking amazing and wonderful. And then like with my kids, like a lot of times I had to look at myself, my inner child, as like it was my daughter. Like I realized, holy shit, I am talking to myself like I am a worthless, useless piece of freaking shit. And when I would tune into, okay, there is this inner child part of me here. It's me. And I'm talking to her like she's a worthless piece of shit. Would I talk to my kids that way? No, never. So why am I talking to myself this way? And again, now you're going to the root. Where was that seed? Go to the freaking, one of my mottos, break out the big girl panties and go big or go home. Because like, I have no desire to stay here and lollygag and fuck around in this energy. Like, I'm done with it. I got goals to reach. Yes. I got big things to do, big things I want to achieve.
Yes.
Staying here is not helping me. And I always tune into, even with my business, sometimes like I'll get in my ego and I'll be like, oh, this is a stupid video. This is ridiculous. Nobody gives two shits about this, right? And then I'm like, Judi, it doesn't matter if that video touches one person's soul or it goes viral. None of that matters. Well, what matters is, even if it's just one person, even if it's only one person that video really did something for them, I did good. You know, the video doesn't have to go, you know what I mean? Yes. Like, I battle my own ego all the time too. Yeah. But I catch it right away. And then immediately go into, you know, certain processes. But I kind of went off on a little tangent there. I forget what we were talking about. I don't know.
Everyone's loved.
Yeah,
and
everyone's
some people
loved.
don't realize it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've definitely sought external validation. And I think I still catch myself doing it. And like with my YouTube channel, and I do the same thing. I'm like, this video is terrible. And then like, I have to be like, no, Lonnie, you're doing such a good job. Because just the courage that it takes to even put a video out there. You've been on YouTube for 6 years or 6+ years.
Yeah, something like that.
And one of your videos, you're talking about how, I don't remember your first name, it was like Angel Divine Reading.
Oh, when I first started, I was in the psychic closet.
Yeah.
I was afraid to come out.
And same with me. Like, it's so courageous that we started the YouTube channel with this fear and we just keep going.
Yeah. I was afraid of what family, friends, non-believers would think, past coworkers. So I didn't want to use my name.
Yeah.
But
Did any of them ever find it?
You know what? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had over the years some people ask me, you know, do you really make money doing that kind of stuff? I'm like, okay, that's their perception. Which whatever. Yeah. But yeah, it started out as my divine angel reading because I didn't want my face. I didn't want my name. I was too scared. I was allowing my ego to keep me small. And then facing the fear. What is keeping you here? Come on now. And then just that practice of healing things, clearing them out, getting to the root, facing the fears, knowing there's a bigger purpose, you know, understanding my ego is just trying to keep me small. It's trying to protect me, but it's like the mother that won't let the child leave the nest.
Yeah.
Because you're not helping it, right? Don't do that to yourself. But yeah, it's just like, you know what? Everybody starts somewhere. You know, and this is how I'm going to learn, and this is how I'm going to grow, and through repetition is how you're going to get better.
Exactly.
And then one day I was just like, why did I put myself in a box? What is going on here? And then it was just like, just do it. Just freaking do it. Just do it. And that was it. I took that website down, that name, that URL, all of it, and everything going forward was just Judi Jamieson.
That's amazing.
Yeah, just do it. Just do it. You're going to get better at it. And if somebody wants to, it's like someone who, say you just remodeled your house and paint it, right? And someone walks in your house and they're like, oh, you forgot a spot. You know what? Kiss my butt. Let me walk in your house and critique it. So that's what you're focusing on instead of the big project and the big picture and the transformation. You're nitpicking, and I would nitpick it. Yes. I can't tell you how many times I would write a script to a video and I'd record it, and then I'd go back and watch it and I'd be like, oh, I forgot to say this. Or I'd be like, oh, the lighting sucks. Oh, my hair was out of place. And I'd redo the damn thing like 5 times. And then again, I realized, Judi, you're making excuses to not put yourself out there. Just The right people will find you. The right people will connect with the message. The right people will find value in it. It is not for everybody. Remember, get comfortable with attracting and repelling. Mm-hmm. And even now, I get people, messages, comments. I get all kinds of crazy. Yeah. That was something I wasn't prepared for.
The negative comments?
Yeah, like, oh, you're talking to Satan and you're going to hell and you're taking people with you. Yes. And I was like, obviously
it's all part of the journey.
This is all a bunch of baloney, just whatever.
Do you delete those comments?
No.
Okay. I've been deleting mine.
When I first started, I used to. I would delete them and then block the person.
Okay.
Because it triggered me.
Yeah.
But then I'm looking at it and I'm like, for every one negative Nancy, there's like 25, 40 more positives. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to delete it because that person is exposing themselves and who they really are. And then generally what happens is my fans or followers will comment on their stuff. And I'm like, you don't have to feed into it.
Yeah.
Like, just let that person made their mark, how much of a closed-minded dickhead they are, and let the world see it, right?
Yeah. And I do want to say too, like, it's funny when we like over criticize ourselves, like, oh, my hair, or like the lighting, or just whatever it may be. There's so much value in what you're saying, and like that's what truly matters
to the right person.
Yeah. And I appreciate your content.
Yeah.
Thanks for.
I haven't done a YouTube video in a long time.
Yeah, I think the last one was 4 months ago that you posted.
I've been so focusing on. I was trying out Instagram. Trying out different platforms because like I have new things, new courses, new freebies that I've been working on. Mm-hmm. And like when I evaluated my marketing structure, mm-hmm. Any new videos I was going to make, I wanted to make sure they all went around a specific topic.
Okay.
If you put the marketing business hat on, there's always a call, there's a value that's given, and there's always a call to action. If you want to learn more, and I'm like, I'm working on a new project, right?
It's okay.
Okay.
And
I want to create new, fresh content that revolves around this new. But I do reels on Instagram and Facebook all the time.
Okay. I'll have to check.
But I do. It is on my to-do list. I'm like I'm one person.
Yeah.
Am I doing YouTube?
You're really good at it.
Trying to. I don't know. I'm still learning.
Yeah,
I had to take a training on Instagram.
Okay.
I had no idea how to use it. Like, I know the basic baloney, you just create stuff and post it. But from a business marketing point, mm-hmm. I was like, I don't want to waste my time trying to figure it all out and doing it the hard way. Let me just pay somebody and take a training on it, mm-hmm. on how to use it the right way to get it to grow to the way that I'd like it to. I had one person say to me one time, why would I pay for your training when I can Google it and find it for free online? And I was like, that's a great question. Yeah. Let me tell you why. I mean, one, if you don't want to pay for it, I'm not trying to shove anything down your throat, right? I'm not like the dirty car salesman. You don't want it, you don't want it. It's fine. My life will go on.
Yeah.
But the conversation that I wound up having with this person is, okay, when you're Googling things, you're going to get a vast sea of all different kinds of information from all different kinds of people, okay? You might get a puzzle piece here or there that's going to help you, but whatever the end goal is, the bigger picture, right? School is structured.
Yes.
Very structured on what to do. It not only is it going to help you achieve your goal a lot faster, mm-hmm. you're going to have very specific step-by-step detailed instructions, as opposed to, say someone was Googling, I don't know, how to market my business. Most people don't understand there's so many avenues. There's the websites, the sales, the email sequence, the copywriting, so when someone's just, I could Google it, and like, go ahead.
Yeah.
Have whatever. If you want to go down a rabbit hole, get mixed, confusing information, mm-hmm. not get the full big picture, and learn how to do it the right way, super freaking fast, go do it. Because I guarantee you're going to miss a lot of key things.
Yeah, absolutely. We need structure and we need that discipline. And like for it to just be written out in front of us makes it so much easier. And it's also so valuable that you have done the work, you have been through it, and to get all that information from one person is so much more valuable than like all these people who you don't really know.
Right.
And like maybe they're just bullshitting, or maybe they're just like talking in theory, or just like repeating what someone else said. I think these, like, that's also valuable to know who you're getting the information from.
I don't know. I think sometimes the internet is like, anybody could read a book.
Exactly.
And then put content online like they're an expert, right?
Yeah.
Whenever I buy any kind of training from somebody, and I spend a lot of money on school stuff, I always do research on them. The credibility. What is their personal experience, right? Like, to give you an example, say you got unruly kids, right? Are you going to go to a therapist who does not have kids, who has no real world experience, and going to tell you how to train or discipline or do whatever with your kids? No. So I always, and I tell people, anybody who, follows me online or whatever, like, here's a link to my bio. Like, here, this will tell you my experience, what I do, what my values, why I do what I do, so you can decide. I'm not the right person for everybody, right? Again, attract and repel.
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe you don't like the way I speak, or you do like the way I speak and explain things, right? Like, because there's been some online courses I've taken where I'm like, I'll watch a 5-minute video, and then she gives you a 30-page book to read, and I'm like, that's not. Oh no, that's how she does her thing. That works for her. She's a reader. I'm not. Like, I know how to read, but I want to listen to a video and watch it and take notes and do the workbook. I don't want to listen to, okay, you're going to do this, this, and this, and this, and then here's the workbook to follow. No, what if? But so, like I said, the point is, everybody has different teaching styles. I'm not going to take a training from someone who says you're going to make, they're all over the internet, 6 figures in 6 days.
Oh gosh, yeah.
How to make 6 figures in whatever. What is your income? Are you making, how long have you been doing this? How much knowledge do you have that you can say you can guarantee that, or whatever? You know what I mean?
And they're also making, if they do make that, they're making it from teaching other people how to make it. Do you know?
Yeah. So you just got to kind of do your research. So when it comes to, I could Google it for free. How much really good specific meat and potatoes, detailed instruction are you going to get? Versus how much of your time are you wasting getting nowhere? You got to kind of evaluate. But I was really shocked when that lady asked me that the one day. I was like, I answered her question, and just let her make the decision.
Yeah.
She wound up buying a $1,500 training from me.
Oh, wow.
But I wasn't trying to sell her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, that just...
And that's awesome, because she probably was just genuinely thinking that and wondering, like, why would she make that choice?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I got on a Zoom call with her, and...
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's like, all right, people ask you things, and I'm like, this is going to take a whole email, and most people are not going to read a lengthy it's not something I can answer in 2 sentences in an email. So I was like, hey, what are you doing right now? Do you want to hop on a Zoom call with me? And I'll answer your question. And she did. Well, tell me a little bit about you. What started your journey? What got you curious with all this kind of stuff?
I would say my depression, my sadness, my feeling like I didn't have control over like how I felt and how I was interacting with people. Sometimes I would get really shy and awkward, and then sometimes I'm like really outgoing and everyone loves me. And it was just this like, what is this? And also I'm an accountant. I went to college for accounting and started my corporate job, and just feeling like my life was this Monday through Friday cycle that I absolutely hated. And then on weekends I would go out and get blackout drunk and just like this was just like happening over and over and over. And I'm like, this cannot be life. Like there's gotta be something else. And so then I started, it was kind of like talk therapy mixed with energy healing. And so during this time is when I was just like crying every session, facing all of the trauma and the stuff and like how I saw myself. And then I hit this point of wanting to explore the world more. So I started traveling, and I went to Thailand. I quit my job. I did a yoga teacher training, and then I came back, and I was like, okay, like I'll get another job. And then I had a boyfriend, and it just wasn't hitting the spot. I just was not fulfilled. So I started seeing this psychic I think she's in Phoenixville. And this one time I went to her, and she did this energy clearing. She put crystals on me and the sound healing. And I felt so clear in that moment after that session. And I was like, I have to move to California. Like, I'm 25 years old. The time is now. I need to pick a date and go. And I remember picking, I think it was July 1st. I picked it like in that moment after that session. And I just started telling everyone. And there was no turning back for me after that decision. So when I got to San Diego, there's such a bigger spiritual community.
Yeah.
And I started looking into cacao ceremonies and full moon gatherings and Reiki and exploring spirituality and exploring my mind and the law of attraction and realizing how real all of this stuff is and how real my energy is and feeling other people is. And so that started my curiosity. And like now I'm coming to terms with like how we're always growing and expanding and learning new things.
Right.
And to not beat myself up on like, oh, I should be here by now, right? It's like this like constant, this constant like cycle of like, oh, I wish my podcast was better. Oh, I wish I had more subscribers. Oh, I wish I knew, or I think mainly I wish that I loved myself more. Like I wish that I didn't have all of these, I'm not good enough. I need to try harder. I need to work harder. So that's kind of like where I am now. That was a lot.
No, that's awesome.
But yeah. But I'm excited. And I think, like you mentioned something about the devil and then how we can be in denial sometimes. And I think that I've been in denial for the past couple months of like, wanting to just like be in love with myself, be in love with what I'm doing, be feeling this gratitude and feeling like I'm enough, but like I'm in denial, like I don't feel that way. And like I'm refusing to like actually look at it and go deeper into it. And after our conversation that we just had, I'm actually really excited to finally just be like, okay, let's go there. Let's do it. Like it also is starting to just feel like this never ending go back to childhood. And I think that's what has put me in denial right now in this time of my life of like, am I just constantly going to be in this like shadow work?
No.
And maybe that's like part of,
it's
like
you won't
part
stay
of
there. You won't stay there.
The thing that's keeping me here is like all
that's
of
like
this.
Kicking open the doors one time, and you get to all the seeds of everything, and then you kind of get through that, and you go through the next set of doors, and you're like, life is like, like, holy cow, I found me, my path, my purpose, I have clarity, I have direction, in alignment with who I am. The outside world is not effing me. Like, it'll F you up once in a while, right? But you don't stay there. Because you look at, okay, what's going on here, and then you know the process. You're like a freaking pro at it. And life is just so much easier and amazing. I think it's funny, every once in a while I'll have somebody come to me and they're like, what's my path and my purpose? And like I try and explain to them, your path and your purpose is going to change. You want to know what your path and purpose is for right now? Like, who am I, or what am I supposed to be when I grow up? Or do you want to know where it's going to take you? Because if you tell somebody the bigger end result, okay, 10 years from now, this is what you're going to be doing, they can't wrap their head around it or comprehend it. But the path and the purpose changes, Like it's like I knew when I was younger, I wanted to be either an architect, right? Or a therapist, a psychologist. I had no idea doing what I do now. Like, and I had somebody in the past tell me, like, you should be a psychic and do that. I'm like, yeah, right. People are going to look at me like a sideshow freak and not take me seriously.
Was it a psychic who told you that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She's like, this is what you're supposed to be doing this for a living. I'm like, no, I'm an executive assistant for a Fortune 500 company. Yeah, no. No. But it's funny when I look back and I think between being an architect and a therapist, with what I do now, where it took me, like architecture, like I'm constantly building funnels and websites and sales pages and the interior design, of that stuff. And then the therapy part comes into play too, but I'm in alignment with me and just giving, like, I don't present myself as some guru, right? I'm always growing and learning. But one of the business trainings that I took, the lady was saying a lot of times the things that hold people back, you think that you need 25 years experience or you have to have all these credentials or certifications. And she was like, what's your experience and what are you good at? You only need to be 3 to 5 years. Who was the person you were 3 years ago? 5 years ago. Because if you're too far, you're not going to be able to communicate with. You're not going to understand.
That makes sense.
You're in a different plane.
That makes sense.
So when you talk about paths and purposes changing, you only need to be 3 to 5 years ahead. Like I know I am not the same person I was 3 or 5 years ago. So I talk to the girl that I was in all of my content 3 to 5 years ago. And I'm still not so far at a different level where I cannot empathize and connect with those people. Like even right now in my business as part of my marketing plan, there is another level of schooling and education that I want to do. But that's not for someone who's here. It's for someone who's here. Right? So when you think about life path and purpose, just freaking do it. And it'll grow and it'll evolve and it'll take, because you're taking action. That's a key thing. A lot of people don't take action. They're too scared. They tell themselves stories and then put themselves in this box. Just take it. Just freaking do it. If you screw it up, so what? You're going to learn. Now you're going to learn how to do it better.
Yes, exactly.
Or like when you think of like people who invent things, the prototypes. You think the first time somebody made a vacuum cleaner or an iPhone, it was crap. It was a rough draft. Even writers, they have what's called their shitty first draft. Just do it. The more it'll get better and it'll take you where it's going to take you,
Yeah.
And just get good at facing the fears and saying.
Yes. And I was definitely that person who was asking the question, what is my life purpose? What do I do with my life?
Yeah.
And I feel like I've done so much and I've changed, and it doesn't seem like it so much matters exactly what I'm doing. It's like the energy I bring with it and the lessons that I learn through it. And
if
like
you're in the flow with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's still affecting the people it needs to affect, just like in different forms. And I think that's something that took me a while to get past, is like wanting someone else to tell me what my life purpose was, or like my path, or like to figure out that one thing, but we need to decide and just do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I don't do readings anymore.
Okay.
Because I found that readings were a great way for me to put myself out there and build credibility. But I got to a point where I was like, I'm one person. And there's only so many people I could connect with on one day. There's a cap. And then I realized a lot of times when I do readings for people, they're not taking it seriously, or it's just entertainment for them. And that's when I started to feel like, oh, the sideshow circus. They just want me to validate whatever, or they're not, it wasn't creating the kind of shifts and change and life-enhancing things for somebody. And I was like, I got so much more to give and offer. And I'm never going to help people who want the help, who are coming to me, on a much more impactful level by doing half-hour readings. Let me teach them how to be your own psychic.
Yeah.
So you can have the tools 24/7, and totally transform your life, and how to use those tools as part of your normal everyday life versus calling a psychic, having them tell you whatever, and then them like, oh, that was a cool experience. That's not what, but yeah, that's why I stopped doing readings.
Yeah.
I was like, I can help more people if I start doing courses and teaching. So that's what lights me up.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It's definitely what we do every day that changes us versus like getting a reading once a month or I used to get readings a lot, and recently I've stopped because I want to tap into my own intuition and use my own guidance more often. But I've definitely found them to be useful though.
Yeah.
Especially in the beginning of the journey. It's interesting how like the use comes in different ways. Like I felt like it was really useful for my spiritual awakening to realize that this is real. Like the psychics are real. Like people can tap into my energy field and give me readings. And the same with tarot cards, of like validating the realness that I have spirit guides, and there's like, I'm communicating with something through my tarot cards. And I can also use them when I have questions or want clarity, or even for like the shadow work too, of like, what the heck is going on right now? And it just like having that conversation. Right.
Yeah, it's a lot of very interesting, fun things and avenues that you can go down. I think it's just a matter of like a lot of people that I talk to, they go down these rabbit holes. Like, oh, meditation sounds fun, Reiki sounds fun, tarot sounds fun, this sounds crystal sound, and then you're like, and you just kind of shut down. When I work with people, I always ask them, why do you want to develop your gifts? That is so huge. And like, what is the end result? And like, peel it away. Why? How do you think developing your gifts is going to help you, and to what level do you want to go to? Not everybody, like the bulk of what I teach is how to use your skills without using tools. No cards, no crystals, no pendulums, because a lot of people become dependent upon that and they're not trusting their own intuition, because they're constantly, it's like a person. They're going to their tools for validation.
Yes.
And then they're wondering why they don't trust their intuition, or they don't know how to fully plug in. It's because you become conditioned on a tool, and the tool is great. Tools are great. But some people just want to learn this or want to learn that, and then there's other people who are like, I want to learn how to do what you do. I want to be out in a restaurant, and if I pick up on a deceased person, how to talk to them without looking like a freak talking out loud. Like, it's all an internal thing. So there's just different levels of, why do you want to develop your gifts? To what end? How do you think it's going to... And that helps me zero in on, okay, out of all the different things that I offer, this is what's going to help them achieve that the fastest way possible. But once in a while I use my cards. If I'm in my head, right, and if something's going on that's screwing me up, I'll break out my cards once in a while. But yeah, cards are a great way to learn how to start tapping in and plugging in.
Yeah, I definitely find myself dependent. I think it was like the other day, I was like, I need my pendulum. It's in California right now.
Right.
But But like that's so true. It's because I don't trust like my feeling or my emotion.
So ask your intuition a question and see what comes to you. And then use your cards to see if the cards validated what your intuition was telling you.
Okay.
And then it's just a quick little exercise to start. Because what if you're out somewhere and you're like, I need an answer. I don't have my cards. Right? I don't have my cards. I don't have my pendulum. Or I'm not in a space where somebody's going to make fun of me or laugh at me. You know?
Pull it out at the grocery store.
Yeah. But yeah, just ask your intuition a question.
Yeah.
And see what the answer you get is. And then use your cards to see if it matches what your intuition told you. It'll help you just trust it more.
And how can people find you?
You can just Google Judi Jamieson or Judi the Psychic.
Okay.
Well, I'm sure in your podcast you'll give a link.
Yeah, I'll put all the links below.
Yeah, a link to something. But yeah.
YouTube, Instagram.
YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. I think I'm going to get shy away from Instagram.
Okay.
I don't really like it. There's so many scammers.
There really are a lot of,
There's so many people that impersonate somebody else. Like, I try so hard. Like, I feel like a broken record on Instagram. If anybody reaches out to you and wants to give you a reading and then tells you they want a donation, it's not me. And this one person impersonated me. They got over 2,000 people.
No.
Thinking they stole all my photos, posted all my stuff. They dropped the E out of Jameson.
Oh, God.
So it looked like me. And like, yeah, 2,000 people they got scammed. I'm like, I'm sorry, that was not me. I don't do readings. I stopped doing readings years ago. I teach. So it's like every fourth or fifth post on Instagram, I'm like, beware of scammers. Like, I'm just...
Yeah.
No. I was thinking about exploring TikTok. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, Facebook...
TikTok can be fun.
Facebook and YouTube, that's my home.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.